so I'm filming on my phone and I'm literally sat directly in front of my window and I'm wearing a bright yellow t-shirt. So if the glare from the t-shirt gets really bad, I'm sorry. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris and I think I'm gonna make this into a book channel. Oh my god, look! Stop it! Hi everyone, welcome. This is new. Welcome to the first video. Today I thought the easiest way for like new people, well everyone's new, it's my first video, but like for people to like find out what I'm about, I think the easiest way to do that is to tell you my favourite books of all time, aka the only books I've ever rated 5 stars. Here's the thing, I thought I was like a hardcore book rater, as in like, I thought I was like quite mean in terms of my ratings. I'm actually not. Well, in terms of 5 stars, I mean, I'm kind of nice about everything else, but 5 stars, I used to think I was like very, I don't know what the word is, like pretentious, or until I started like writing down all my 5 stars that I've rated, and turns out I actually give a lot of books 5 stars. So we have a lot of books to get through, and I want to keep this intro short because I know this video is going to probably be long. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, or add me on Goodreads, friend me on Goodreads, which I don't know what it's called, I'll have it linked in the description. I'm going to actually split this video into like 2 segments. So the first segment is going to be about books that are part of series, not necessarily the whole series, just specific books that are part of series that I gave 5 stars, and I'll tell you a bit about them and the series as a whole. And then the second part of the video we'll do like standalone, so books that take place in their own world, nothing's like connected to it technically, like you can just read this and be done with the world, be done with the characters. We are starting off strong because we're starting off with my favourite book of all time, and that's The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is part of the Off-Campus series, which is a new adult ice hockey romance series that follows 4 hockey players and them falling in love pretty much, and they're all connected because they're all like friends. This book like literally got me so much into romance. Already predominantly read romance books anyway, but like this book like changed the trajectory of my life. I'm not kidding. I mean, maybe I'm a bit exaggerating, but like still, like this changed me. I don't really want to talk too much about the synopses of these books because this video would be way too long if I did do that, but just know that this is my favourite book of all time. It's technically, I guess it's fake dating, however I think the fake dating aspect of this book is kind of weak. I just love the relationship that occurs, and I also tabbed this one, which I don't really know if you can see because of the glare and I can't be bothered fixing that. I just think everyone should read this book. It gets a lot of criticism because it reads like a Wattpad fanfic, and you know what, I don't care. The next one that's part of this series that I rated 5 stars is actually The Score. Just these 2 in Off-Campus. Why this one, I literally don't know. Really don't know why I gave it 5 stars. I think just at the time when I was reading it, I had so much fun. I would reread this if I wanted to, I would. I know that this is friends with benefits to lovers. We have a wealthy hero. Well, his family's like rich. I think this book is so good. Okay, so obviously I cannot talk about the Off-Campus series without bringing up Briar You. 2 books in this series as well that I also gave 5 stars. Starting off with book 1, which is The Chase. This is brother's best friend. Also kind of technically has the roommates trope because they both live together. If you read the book, you'll find out why. I really don't know why I like this book. I just did. It just worked for me. I just really enjoyed it. But yeah, like just read it. The next one this is also part of Briar You, but I'm pretty sure this is like the least popular book out of 2 Off-Campus and Briar You full-length novels. I'm pretty sure this is the least popular, which is crazy because I literally gave it 5 stars and I absolutely adored it. But that is The Dare. I loved it. I thought it was so good. This is fake dating, but I think it was done well. I think the reason why they were fake dating was good. The main girl's called Taylor. I just really liked her. She was a nice person. I don't know. I really liked this book. It was really fun. I remember reading this. I was just lying in bed, kicking my feet. Like, it was so much fun. I loved it. Alright, so the next series I'm going to talk about is also another really popular one. I'm really sorry that you probably have all already read these books. You already know of them. I mean, to be fair, I read all the popular books anyway because I feel like I have to play catch up with everyone else on TikTok because I don't read very fast. I don't read a lot of books. But the next series I'm going to talk about is the Addicted / Calloway Sister series. However, I think I have 6 books in that series that I gave 5 stars, and I only own 2 of them in paperback. So the first one is Addicted to You. This is what starts it off. This is book 1. I gave this one 5 stars. As you can see, I also tabbed this one. I just loved it. I thought it was a good introduction, but the books do get leaps and bounds better as you go on to the series. Yeah, so that's Addicted to You. This follows Lily and Lo. They both have different addictions that they're trying to combat, but also they kind of form a fake relationship to enable each other to continue with their addictions, but then it kind of just ends up being way too damaging and they try to get help. That's pretty much what the series follows. Another book in the series that I gave 5 stars that I own is Kiss the Sky. This is my favourite book. This is part of the Calloway Sister series. Also technically book 1 in that series, but like the reading order, if you're confused, it's all all in the first page of every book. Reading order, if you're confused, I don't even know if you can read it, but it's there. It's in the first page of like all of the books in the series, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I just love Rose and Connor, Cabolloway. Oh, love them. That's literally it. I just love them as a relationship. I think the plot in this book is so interesting. It's just so much fun. But apart from them two, the other books in the series I gave 5 stars to. Oh wait, I own the next one. I also gave Hot House Flower 5 stars, and I do own this one. This is the last one in the series I own though, so I own the first 5 and not the second 5. We'll get there. They're just very expensive, okay? This one follows Ryke and Daisy. This is a Grumpy Sunshine romance. This is also age gap. I don't know, I just really like Ryke. I don't know why, I just really like Ryke. Like, oh, not as much as Connor, but like, oh, Ryke. So the other books in the series that I gave 5 stars to but do not own is Addicted After All, Fuel the Fire, and Some Kind of Perfect. Addicted After All is the final book that is solely in Lily and Lo's point of views. I thought it was a good ending to their story, even though obviously it carries on throughout the other books. Fuel the Fire, I just love Rose and Connor. What can I say? I just think they're so interesting to read about. They're just really good characters. I love them. And then Some Kind of Perfect was just an excellent epilogue. It just clicked for me. Like, yeah, I thought that was really special. It was a really good book. Maybe I'll do the thumbnail later. The next series that I'm going to talk about, I think isn't as popular, so maybe this is a good recommendation if you've never read them. It's an romance series, and it is called the Elite Trilogy. So the first book is Danger Zone, then it's Need for Speed, and then it's Classified. These are romances that all follow the same couple, so you do have to read them in order, but the books are all really short and they all have really short chapters, which I love. It just means that you can binge them so quick. It was so good. It was literally so much fun. I had such a good time. Every single book, well, all 3 books I gave 5 stars to. They were just so like, I was just obsessed with them. Like, I don't know how to say it. They were just so addicting. I've heard people say that this is Top Gun? I'm pretty sure it's Top Gun. I've heard people say that this is like Top Gun but make it gay. I've never watched Top Gun, so I like can't attest to that. All I can say is that it's excellent. The books are absolutely incredible. We are following 2 fighter pilots. So this book is set in a place where all of these fighter pilots who are like the best of the best are being called somewhere to compete against each other to find out who is the best fighter pilot in, like, I guess the US. But the day before the first day of whatever the this competition is, we follow these 2 characters who are in a bar and they have this sort of banter with each other. One of them is called Panther, the other one is called Solo. You know the vibe. It's not their real names, it's their flight crew names. This is kind of Grumpy Sunshine-esque because we have Panther, who's quite serious, cares about his reputation, wants to be taken seriously. But then we have Solo, who is literally the complete opposite. He's basically just here for a good time. He doesn't take anything too seriously. He's a lot more fun and laid back and chill. We meet at this bar and we already have some kind of banter between these 2. They go away and the next day they end up meeting each other again because they're both part of this competition, and they're like, oh, the romance from there. But I literally, you don't understand how addicting it is, how fun it is, how it's just so good. It's so quick. It's like just so quick to get through. Yeah, I just think everyone should read this series too. The next 2 that I'm going to talk about, one of them is part of a series and the other one is technically branded as a standalone, but it takes place in the same universe. So I'm going to talk about them one after another together, but I'll tell you like which is the standalone, which is part of the series. Starting off with the book that is part of the series, this is labelled as like book 0.5 on Goodreads, and that is Luca Vitiello by Cora Riley. This is, if you've heard of the book Bound by Honor, this is basically the same book but told in the boy's point of view, and I gave this one 5 stars because I just think this is a lot more interesting than Bound by Honor, and I gave that one 4 stars. I just think reading from Luca's point of view was just so interesting to me because we know that he has this reputation of being quite aggressive, I guess pretty scary, but reading it from his point of view and seeing how much he actually does care about Arya and how much he actually loves her, it was just so like heartwarming to read, considering, you know, like I literally just said like how pretty terrifying he's supposedly described as by other people and stuff. So the standalone that takes place in the same universe as this is called Sweet Temptation. It's obviously by the same author, Cora Riley. I'm putting these 2 together because Luca Vitiello is in different scenes in this book, and there's like mentions of different moments that happen within the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles, which is the series that Luca Vitiello is part of, but it's not really that deep. It is branded as a standalone, so you can read it as a standalone. I did want to talk about these 2 together because they take place in the same universe. So to describe the plot of this one, it's an arranged marriage, just like Luca Vitiello, which I didn't mention. It is an arranged marriage, but this one is between a single dad and a newly 18-year-old, I guess. The age gap in this book is not that big. Actually, I might be lying. I can't remember how old Cassio is. Maybe it is bad. So the reason why Cassio wants to get married again is because he needs someone to look after his 2 children, because his old wife died. He's a widower. He needs a new wife to look after the kids. So he ends up getting married to Julia, and Julia ends up looking after the kids, but these kids have some sort of like pent-up trauma from like events that have happened in the past. They're only young as well. So one of the children literally does not speak anymore. Like, when I describe the plot, it sounds really boring, but I just had such a good time reading it. I thought it was a really wholesome book. Considering it is like set in this mafia universe, I thought it was quite wholesome. These familial bonds is just so good. We're still talking about series now, but I'm only going to be mentioning it's like the first book in specific series, because it's either I've only read the first book or the first book just happens to be the only one that I gave 5 stars to. But I only have 3 of these to talk about, and then we'll move on to the standalones, okay? We're starting off strong with It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is part of the, I think it's called like the Bellinger Sister series. There's only 2 books, and the second one follows the heroine's sister, but I did give it 4 stars, so we're going to be talking about this one specifically. Is this enemies to lovers? It's definitely Grumpy Sunshine. I'm not really sure about the enemies to lovers aspect, but we're following Piper, who is an LA socialite who ends up getting in some sort of trouble, and her stepdad ends up kicking her out to some fishing town. Sounds kind of far-fetched, but the reason why is because it's where her biological father is from. She ends up meeting this guy called Brendan, who's a fisherman, and Brendan, right from the beginning, he's like, oh my god, like, you know, like the classic trope of like, she doesn't belong here, like, what is she doing, like that type of vibe. This is just fun rom-com-esque. It is summer right now, so if you haven't read it, I think now is literally the perfect time. The love is so good. This explains why I like romance books. I just love love, and so, oh, this one was just great. I loved it. The next one that I'm going to mention is the one that I'm literally the most excited to talk about, because I read this one recently and I absolutely adored it. It was so good. I literally read it so fast and I was kicking my feet the entire time. I was giddy the entire time. It was so much fun. But I'm talking about Egotistical Pug Boy by Eden Finley and Saxon Janes. I know the title is cringe as fuck. I know it's cringe as fuck. But trust me when I tell you, this book was incredible. This is an romance between 2 professional ice hockey players. They're technically famous as well. It is an enemies with benefits trope, and it is excellent. It is amazing. The Deal is my favourite book by definition, but this is a close second. I don't think you understand how much fun I had reading this. It was so enjoyable. I don't even want to go into the plot or anything like that. Like, I think me telling you how much I adore this book and saying that it's enemies with benefits is literally all you need to know. I just think you need to stop what you're doing and read it. It is so good. Oh, I like still think about the characters. I still think about so much about this book. There are quotes in this book which I highlighted on my phone. This is part of the Puck Boy series, which as of right now, as I'm filming this, there's only 2. The second one is called Irresponsible Puck Boy. I haven't read that one yet, so I don't know if it lives up to the first book. I don't know. I'll have to read it soon and I'll find out. The final book that is part of this series section of this video is called Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This is book 1 in the Hoops series. I think there are 3 books in the series. I've only read the first 2, but this one is the one that I gave 5 stars to. There is a very graphic scenes, and basically the whole book is a trigger warning for domestic abuse. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this book. In this book, we follow Iris, and she's in an abusive relationship. It follows her just trying to escape that on this journey with Iris, and I'm feeling the things that she's feeling. For example, this book makes you feel very trapped, which is crazy, and I think this book answers the question of like, why can't you just leave an abusive relationship very well? I don't really want to talk about the plot line of this book at all. I just think you can just go into it, but also be aware, despite the cover looking like a cute sports romance, it's not. We are now in our standalone era. I'm going to start this off with a book that actually isn't a romance, and I also, before even like mentioning it, I kind of just want to say like, this isn't necessarily a recommendation. Like, I'm not recommending you read this book specifically, but I gave it 5 stars, so I do want to mention it. And that book is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. As you can see, I absolutely devoured this book. I tabbed it, I've read it twice, and I do want to read it a 3rd time, probably in winter or autumn. It's just that kind of vibe for me. I assume the majority of people have either read this book or have heard of this book. If you haven't read it, do not put a book before your mental health, and if you do want to read it, be aware of what you're getting yourself into. I don't want you to take this as like a recommendation, because the worst thing ever is you to like be recommended a book and then go into it not really knowing what you're expecting. I feel like A Little Life is just one of those books that you have to do your research research on beforehand. I already said this, but don't put a book before your mental health. It's not worth it. You're not missing out by not reading this, I promise. But with that being said, this is a monster of a book. It is massive, but at the same time, I feel like every page is necessary. Like, I hate long books. I absolutely hate long books, but like just the character growth throughout all these like 800 pages is just so good in my opinion. We're following these 4 boys who met each other in university, but we're following their lives as they come out of university and basically enter adulthood and basically just the rest of their lives, I guess. But it all centers around this one character who's called Jude, who none of his friends actually know much about him before he came to university. And so throughout all these pages, we basically find out what has happened to him and how his past has affected who he is in the present, and you basically see his entire life throughout this book. And it's really emotional, but it is really good, and you just get so connected to pretty much every single character in this book, and you have so many strong emotions, and that is why I gave it 5 stars. Next one, this is on a lighter note, but this one also, the last few pages literally destroyed me. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a massive book on BookTok, so I'm sure you've either already read it or you already know about it. And if you know about it and you haven't read it, what the hell are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Please get on it. Get onto reading it. Like, move it up on your TBR if it's on it. I've read this book twice now because I also tabbed this one. The quotes in this book are absolutely incredible. This is just such an unforgettable story in my opinion. We're following a journalist who's called Monique, who is asked to interview Evelyn Hugo because Evelyn Hugo basically wants Monique to write her like biography type thing. The whole story arc of this biography that she wants to write is who was Evelyn Hugo's true love, basically expecting Evelyn to go in depth with all of her 7 husbands and all of her relationships in her entire life. The next one is also quite like an OG BookTok book, but this was incredible. I adore this book and I still think about this book to this day, even though I read it like a year ago, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I'm sure everyone already knows exactly what this book is about. We're following the son of the president and the Prince of England, and it's just a romance between these two. It's kind of friends to lovers. It's supposedly enemies to lovers, but like it's not, because they're enemies for like the first 20 pages and then they become friends, and then it's like a gradual thing from the friends to lovers aspect. This is the first book I ever read in a day, which is crazy because it's like 400 pages, but I had so much fun I couldn't put it down. It was amazing. I know I'm saying this a lot, but if you have not read this book yet, move it up on your TBR. This is so wholesome. It's so much fun. The girls who write fun books are getting the 5 stars. Are we noticing this? I mean, I know I have books like Long Shot and A Little Life, but the girls that are writing the fun shit are getting the 5 stars. This is the last romance on this list, and that is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I don't know why I love this cover. It's nothing special, but I really like this cover so much. We're following 2 boys. One is called Keaton and the other one is called Luke. Keaton has a girlfriend, and for her birthday she wants Keaton to go on a dating app to find a boy to bring into their relationship for a threesome, and so he does that under like a fake username or whatever, and we end up stumbling across this guy who happens to be in real life is called Luke, and Luke and Keaton actually know each other because they're both part of the same fraternity, and they're both running to attempt to be the fraternity president next year or something like that, so they're kind of like rivaling each other, and they don't realize that they're talking to each other online as well, but they haven't made obviously the connection that that's who they're talking to. So that's like an aspect of this book, which is like you need to get to the end because you need to see what it's like when they find out who each other are. Obviously along the course of them talking they start flirting, which obviously makes Keaton kind of question his sexuality because he's always thought that he was straight, but talking to Luke under that fake name obviously has changed things about that. This is so short. It's literally not even 300 pages. You can get through this really quick. I definitely did read this in a day. It's just fun. It's excellent, but it's also like so enjoyable. This is a really enjoyable one. Okay, so to link with that trope of they know each other one way, they also know each other IRL, but they haven't made the connection that it's the same person, I present you Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. To link with that trope, we're following these 2 people called Misha and Ryan who go to different schools, but they like end up talking to each other because their teachers set up like a pen pal thing between the 2 schools, and they'd kind of just continue to talk to each other even after they like move to different high schools and stuff as well. But when they get into high school, Misha ends up actually transferring to Ryan's school, but he transfers under a fake name, which when you read the book you'll get the vibes. Ryan doesn't realize that she's talking to Misha, but obviously she is. The Ryan in real life doesn't really match up with the Ryan who writes him letters. This ends up becoming a bully romance between those 2. It is so good. It's a really good enemies to lovers. This is such a vibe. The cover of this book perfectly displays or conveys the vibe that is in these pages. I just had so much fun reading this one. We have actually come to the final book that I'm going to talk about in this video. I think people have very opposing opinions on this book, but I'm going to be talking talking about Credence by Penelope Douglas. Look, I can explain. Hold your horses, I can explain. I just think the vibe of this book was incredible. Hello, look at the cover. This is where the book is set. If you've never heard of this book, honestly, maybe you should keep it that way. The people who get it, and the people who don't, unfortunately, do not. You have to trust the process. We're following this girl called Tianan, whose parents end up dying, like, together in the morning. I know, kind of random, but whatever. And she gets a phone call from her dad's stepbrother, who is like, I'm technically now your legal guardian because you're, like, still 17, but you're gonna turn 18 in, like, a matter of weeks, so you don't have to come, but I am inviting you to come live with me in, like, the trees, the mountains. And she's like, I'm bored. So she ends up going, and she ends up meeting Jake's two sons, who's called Noah and Caleb, and she ends up having a romance with, like, all three of these men, but she does end up choosing one right at the end. Even if you start this book and you don't like it, you have to read to find out who she chooses. Hello, come on. But there is literally no blood relation, and it's not like Jake and his sons have, like, known Tianan at all. Like, they've never met each other until you read it in the book when they first meet each other. Those are all the books that I'm talking about in this video. Those have all been every single book that I've ever rated 5 stars. Comment down below if we happen to have the same taste in books, or if you have, like, completely differing opinions and you absolutely hated one of the books that I rated. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like. If we happen to have similar taste in books, you might want to consider subscribing, because I do want to make more book content in the future, and I'd like you to join me, but you know, it's your choice, I guess. But with that being said, I am gonna leave now. I guess I'll see you in my next video, or never again. But yeah, bye. Bye.